record on this computer. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm so glad to be here. I love this subject. Of course, anything about systems or, organs or glands, I'm just all over it. I've just always been into health and always enjoyed learning about health. I got a couple of passions. Health is one of them. History is another. Genealogy is another. So you guys just get to know me a little bit more every time. And I just am so glad to be able to share with you. So tonight, we're going to talk about the healthy respiratory system. And I will say it's not going to be as long as it was last week. We had quite a long one last week, but if you didn't catch it all, or you just got weary after the first hour, it is out on my YouTube channel, which is Cristina Campbell. So that's spelled without an H, Cristina, Campbell, like the soup company. You can go out there and you can watch.
The headphones? I don't know. You show you gave them back to me.
Okay, I'm going to mute everybody. Yes. Now, if you want to be unmuted, you can unmute yourself at any time by clicking on the little, what do you call it? The little microphone in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. It usually has a red line through it. And if you click on that, it'll open up the mic and you can speak then. But otherwise, I'll keep everybody on mute until you have questions or comments. So anyway, tonight is respiratory system, and I'm looking forward to starting. I'm going to tell you what you will learn tonight. You're going to learn the importance of clean, fresh air. Now, for those of you who do know me, I walk every day, pretty much every day. I missed a few days, and I just felt really out of sync with my, balance. And balance meaning balancing my physical, spiritual, emotional, mental health. If I don't walk, if I don't get that fresh, clean air, the sunshine, even when it's not sunny, we're still getting rays through those clouds, and it's just healthy to be outside. I mean, we do have pollution, and we have to keep that in our minds, but it's better to be out there breathing in than being stuck in a house day after day after day. And I know a lot of us have been doing that. We feel like we have cabin fever. The cold snap really kept a lot of us in the house. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how the respiratory system functions. We're going to talk about what causes respiratory infections, ways to support the respiratory system, and steps to heal from chronic respiratory illnesses. We're also going to talk about the effects of toxic chemicals. Okay, I don't think I have anybody left in the waiting room. All right, so let's get this party started. So what is respiration? It is the process of the lungs expanding and contracting. Still letting people in. Okay. Supplies the life-sustaining oxygen to the body. It removes a waste product called carbon dioxide. So we take in oxygen and we expel carbon dioxide. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit more depth. And for those of you who are not all about anatomy and physiology, bear with us. However, again, if you're anything like me, I have a color personality of green. I love the details. And a lot of people like blues, they just say, get to the fun part of this because I'm bored to death with the details. But I'm giving you the details tonight, as usual. And the details about the respiratory process are that it starts in the nose. There are small hairs in the nose. They're called cilia. And they help keep the air passages clean, and they filter out dust and particles. The air then goes through the nose and through the windpipe, travels into the windpipe or the trachea. And then it divides into two airways. You can see these airways in this picture. Okay. these airways that branch off are called bronchial tubes. The bronchial tubes, I keep getting people in my waiting room. All right. Sorry. These bronchial tubes pass through the lungs into smaller, they're air passages called bronchioles. And on the ends of these bronchioles are what we call alveoli. This is the capillary bed. This is where blood and oxygen come into the lungs and feed the lungs. And then there's going to be a transfer of that oxygen to CO2 so that it can be expelled by the lungs. And it all happens miraculously through that system of bronchioles, bronchial tubes, alveoli. It's amazing. You know, when you think about the physiology of the body, you remember the words of scripture that says, we are so fearfully and wonderfully made. It is truly a miracle that we, you know, function the way that we do. We have so much to be grateful for. The respiratory process. I'm going to highly recommend that people come on time, and then we don't have to keep letting them in 5 minutes after we start. The respiratory process. Over 300 million alveoli act as filters in these little bronchioles. Mucus in the trachea and bronchial tubes keep our air passages moist, stopping dust and bacteria and viruses. It does so much. And allergy-causing substances and other substances from entering the lungs. So the point here is that if you keep this healthy, it will do the work for you. It will do the work for you. Impurities that reach deeper parts of the lungs are all moved up by this rhythmic waves, these rhythmic waves of mucus and cilia that are moving this stuff up and out of the lungs. So when our lungs are healthy, it takes care of itself. It is really miraculous. The heart pumps the blood and provides oxygen to the cells of the tissues and organs. And then carbon dioxide is produced and absorbed into the blood. Blood carries the carbon dioxide back to your lungs through the capillaries. And then the carbon dioxide is removed from the body through exhalation, through exhaling. That act of exhaling is getting rid of the carbon dioxide. You know, the good news and the perfect balance of how our world is that as we breathe out carbon dioxide, the trees thrive on it. The trees literally thrive on it. They live on carbon dioxide. So God made such a perfect balance in our world, didn't he? So you're going to see that the carbon dioxide is going through that alveoli wall, and the oxygen is oxygenating those red blood cells. It is amazing. Now we have accessory respiratory organs as well, and one of those is the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is a muscle. It's a large dome-shaped muscle under the lungs. And its role in breathing is that it contracts and it creates a vacuum that causes a rush of fresh air into the lungs. Opposite occurs when you exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and the lungs deflate. So, I mean, it's all very rhythmic, especially in a healthy respiratory system. So let's take a few minutes and look at some respiratory disorders, because the more that we pollute our air, oh, they're still coming in. The more that we pollute our air and, you know, the life we live, if we do things like smoke or even staying around a wood burning stove all the time and inhaling that can be damaging to the lungs. You know, so make sure you have good ventilation if you are burning wood. I love the smell of burning wood. I raised my children with wood burning stoves, but they weren't smoking in the house. There was a chimney and it was an enclosed wood burning stove. So you want to do that. You want to do that to make sure that you're not inhaling a lot of bad stuff. Now, you're going to inhale things that are going to cause problems. We're going to see some of the symptoms of these diseases and we're going to see what causes them. So let's just dig deep here. Okay, asthma is a good example of a chronic respiratory disorder, and it affects more than 300 million people worldwide. I think that number is probably doubled, honestly, because more and more children are becoming asthmatic as we have toxic chemicals in our homes, and even our fabrics have toxic chemicals in our homes. Our, you know, just the things we breathe. Chemtrails, you know, from the airplanes, the fuel residue, as many cars as we have, diesel exhaust, all of this is contributing to our asthmatic children. And I'm going to mention it to include vaccinations. The symptoms of an asthma attack include coughing, wheezing, and tightness of breath. Now, tightness of chest. Now, I want to get back to, I just mentioned the word vaccinations. It's not that vaccinations cause asthma. Please don't get me wrong. That's why I feel like I need to get some clarity. However, I do believe that vaccinations can cause immunity weakness. And when we have immunity weakness, then those lungs, that respiratory system, including our brain and so much more, does not work as efficiently or effectively. And so I'm just one of these people who, you know, I got 6 vaccinations when I was a baby, when I was school age, 6 vaccinations. Now it's up to something like 33 vaccinations before they go to kindergarten. And in my estimation, that's a little much. But I'm not going to get into vaccinations anymore. I just wanted to get it clear that it's the compromise of the immune system that we can come up with allergies and asthmas and other respiratory weaknesses. When you have asthma, it causes your airways to become inflamed. They become narrow and fill with mucus, and it becomes very labored to breathe. Symptoms and triggers are different for everybody else. Sometimes it can be really moist, hot air, like summertime in St. Louis, can really trigger asthma attacks. Other times it could be just severe pollen. You know, a lot of pollen in the air can cause an asthma attack. Stress can cause asthma attacks. You can literally, 80% of the disease starts in our head, right? So you can be so stressed, so tense, so as my husband would say, wrapped around the axle, that you can tighten that that area in your chest and induce an asthma attack. So when I say causes are allergens or cold air or even warm, moist air, exercise, as in the case of exercise-induced asthma. And when I talk about emotional stress, I'm talking about that tension. I recommend that you use oils in the situation of asthma, either on the bottoms of your feet or on your chest directly. Sometimes the oils can be just a little too much to be inhaling directly in the nostrils if we're having trouble breathing to begin with. We need to get that air. So let's not, overdo it. Well, let's put it on the bottom of our feet. Let's put it on our chest. Let's do both. And I've got a testimonial here, and I hope that Loretta helps me out. I saw her on here and then she disappeared. But if she comes back on, I'll probably get her to give us her testimony. She was an asthmatic when I met her. Oh, somebody else is waiting in the waiting room. Okay, there's Loretta. Loretta, I'm going to go back to asthma. Are you up to speaking loudly tonight for me?
Okay.
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
I've always used Loretta.
Yes, you have, and it's fine.
And her testimony, because she just came so far so fast. So go ahead and tell us what happened with you, Loretta.
Okay, so I have been diagnosed with asthma since I was a little girl, and that's been a long time ago. But anyway, my mom sent me to the doctor. She did the old remedies, putting a nail in the tree. And when I outgrow the nail, I'm supposed to outgrow asthma. I had goose grease on the chest, all of that. Went to the doctor as I got older in my 20s and 30s and was taking theophylline, inhalers, the whole gamut. And then when I had children, they were going through the same thing. So I told God that there's got to be something out there for me to use, because he made everything for us. So I came across someone named Cookie, and she told me about some oils, and I decided to try to get into the oils. So after that, I became acquainted with Cristina and started listening to a lot of the classes. And I started, experimenting and using things, and found out that frankincense helps to open up the capillaries, and it can help you to breathe. I used myrrh, I used RC, I used hyssop for the cough. And so I started putting the frankincense on my chest, and then I thought, oh my goodness, I can breathe better. So then I thought, well, oh, great. Thank you, Jesus. So then I went to the myrrh, and I went to actually hyssop for the cough, because the coughing just hurt so bad. So I did the hyssop on the chest, and that helped stop the cough. And I did the RC on the chest, and it helped too. Now, mind you, what I found out, even since lately, is that when you are in an asthma episode, it is better to put it up under the bottom of your feet, because when you are in an episode, the smells actually help sometimes to trigger it more for some people. Now, I didn't need, but just going through my, history with other people, it's just they are different. Everybody's different. So you can put it up under the bottom of your feet, in the fleshy part of your feet where your lungs are, and it would get into your system better, just as well, but it won't trigger you to make you cough, because it's not directly on your chest. But that's kind of, and that's been, I don't know, 15 years ago at least. And I don't have any problems. Every now and then, because of the triggers of the air we breathe and things, the chemtrails, I might get a little mucus or stuff in there. But when I get that, I just go to frankincense, and it's been my lifesaver.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cristina.
Yeah, and I still think that your picture is in here, and you haven't aged a day as far as I'm concerned. And that was probably, let's see, that's got to be at least 10 years ago. But yeah, yes. She's an oiler. This one is. Okay, so let's go on to bronchitis. And again, thank you so much, Loretta. I love your story.
Thank you.
Acute and chronic bronchitis. This is inflammation of the membranes, the lining of the bronchial tubes. And the symptoms of bronchitis are cough, mucus It can be clear or white or yellowish gray or green in color. Shortness of breath. Shortness of breath made worse by mild exertion. Wheezing, fatigue, slight fever and chills, and chest discomfort. Many of these symptoms are similar to asthma. The chest discomfort, the wheezing, the shortness of breath. And as Loretta just shared with us, she had a cough. And I think sometimes it's just because those airways are filling up with that mucus in there, and your body automatically tries to expel it. It's trying to get rid of it. So the causes of acute bronchitis are allergies, environmental toxins, and or infections. Smokers end up getting chronic bronchitis eventually. So this is something that you don't want to do. You don't want to expose yourself to any more allergens or toxins than you have to. Another chronic disease is emphysema. Now, that's also in correlation now with COPD because emphysema does affect the heart. So we look at emphysema and COPD as pretty much synonymous. I think there are a little bit different definitions, but you can look at what I'm reading for you tonight and apply it to COPD as well. This is when the air sacs or the alveoli of the lungs are enlarged and they become damaged. So they're damaged because of things like exposure to asbestos or smoking or physical damage caused by an accident, scarring from whooping cough or acute bronchial pneumonia or what's that, a pleurisy, tuberculosis and asthma. And the symptoms for this are shortness of breath, rapid breathing and wheezing, chronic cough, with or without saliva or sputum, it's called. You'll notice that people with emphysema are barrel chested. It's because their lungs have struggled to get the oxygen they need and they become enlarged. So their rib cage just widens. And it was very synonymous with smoking back in the day when, 60-80% of the people, the population in the United States and Britain were smokers. I mean, everybody seemed to be a smoker back in the day. And emphysema was more prevalent. All right, we got people coming in and out. Upper respiratory infections, let's talk about those, URIs. These are infections that are affecting the throat, the sinuses, the larynx, the trachea, and the bronchi. And symptoms are coughing, runny nose, nasal congestion or postnasal drip, sneezing or coughing, sore, scratchy throat, painful swallowing, a malaise and fever. And a malaise is just feeling of lethargy, not feeling up to par. It can last 2 to 14 days and can linger for several weeks depending on how weak your immune system was to begin with and what kind of virus is causing this particular upper respiratory infection. And good case in point is what we've had heard about in most cases, how COVID has affected the upper respiratory system. And it's funny because for those of you who are familiar with the Zyto is a test that I'm able to run on the body's systems, organs, and glands by having you place your hand on a cradle. And I have had a couple of people here recently that had had COVID in November of last year. One of them had respiratory issues, severe respiratory issues, and the other one had digestive issues. And don't you know that even though they were clear of COVID, they tested negatively after they did their quarantine, after they got over the sickness, but it showed up that they were still having issues because it does damage. When you have these kinds of viruses, they play havoc. You may not feel like you have upper respiratory damage, but your body is still trying to heal that from that lingering disease. So the cause of URIs are virus related in most cases, over 200 different viruses. And flu vaccines, just saying, are not effective for upper respiratory infections. They don't touch them. So there you go. Another chronic lung disease is cystic fibrosis. And I do have a couple of people in my organization that have suffered with cystic fibrosis and found the oils to be extremely helpful, actually increasing oxygen intake by anywhere from 30 to 70%. So what is cystic fibrosis? It's mucus that builds up in the lungs, the pancreas, and the intestines, especially in the lungs. And it's like a glue-like mucus. And the symptoms are diarrhea that does not go away, foul-smelling, greasy stools, frequent episodes of wheezing, episodes of pneumonia. Most people with cystic fibrosis, if they're not using oils on a daily basis, will end up in the hospital with some kind of pneumonia-related illness at least once a year, and sometimes 6 or 7 or 8 times a year. I have a young girl who's her mother's in Young Living, and they started using the oils quite a few years ago now with me, and she missed so much school because of hospitalization, because she had to go in to get breathing treatments, and they have to move them a lot to get this mucus moving. And now she's doing so much better. There's persistent cough along with cystic fibrosis. The skin will be salty. Poor growth can happen in children, and chronic sinus infections. So this is an inherited disease due to a mutation in the gene, and there is no known cure. And you know, I've never said that oils cure anything. I believe that God gave the body the ability to heal itself if we give it the right things. It's just that we don't have all knowledge at all times about all things yet. And if we continue to ask God to give us guidance, He's going to show us. He's going to show us what it is that can help with some of these diseases that we don't think there's a cure for. Because God is actually the great healer. The oils are just his modality. He used them in scriptural times and biblical times, and he's asked us to use them today. So using oils in cases like cystic fibrosis can be very, very helpful. Pharyngitis is inflammation of the throat, and the symptoms are sore or red throat. Most of us just call it a sore throat. It comes with fever sometimes, swollen neck and lymph glands, difficulty and pain with swallowing, and the causes are 90% are viral. It can be bacterial. Tonsillitis or strep throat can be a part of it, and it's related to a minor illness such as a cold or flu. Injuries or irritants such as smoking or postnasal drip or allergies and inhalation of toxic chemicals will just exacerbate it. So inflammation of the throat or sore throat. Severe or acute respiratory syndrome or SARS, you may have heard this. This is a virus, and they felt at one time, I don't know if they're still going down this path, but that COVID was a mutated form of SARS. And so it's like the flu, right? Severe acute respiratory disease of unknown etiology, but they believe it's a virus. Symptoms are fever, a dry cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing. Does this sound familiar? Usually appears in 3 to 7 days, but maybe as long as 10 days. And the causes, again, are viruses. And it's spread through the contact with infected saliva or droplets from coughing or sharing food and drink. And that's why we're so strict about hand washing and, you know, not coughing on people. I think that's one of the main reasons for the masks. So if you have the disease or the virus, you don't be coughing on everybody else and getting them sick. Pneumonia is a lower respiratory tract and lung infection, which may not require antibiotics. And pneumonia can get into pleurisy. And pleurisy is quite a bit more painful than pneumonia because it's actually the membranes of the lungs are beginning to separate. And that can be very, very painful. Pneumonia symptoms are coughing. Oh, you can cough until you just can't cough anymore. Fevers and chills, shortness of breath and chest pain. You're going to get weakness, fast heart rate because of the coughing. Diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting because you cough so much a lot of times. Mild symptoms of pneumonia are called walking pneumonia. And it usually clears up in 2 or 3 weeks. Not all pneumonia is bacterial, but I'm just going to give you some things that you can do to prevent these diseases. And can I say that? To prevent your body from getting weakened. I'm looking at my niece. She's over here. She's over here sitting next to me, and I'm trying to get her approval on compliancy. Yeah, but I'm going to give you some ideas about how to strengthen, you know, the respiratory system so that you don't succumb to these things. I think that's better. Yeah. All right, so let's look at some testimonials. One of them is from Margie from Ohio, and she said, I would easily get walking pneumonia every fall and winter. I would go through a series of antibiotics and feel okay for a while, and then back to more walking pneumonia. I started to fill a veggie cap with oregano. This is oregano oil, not the herb. Oregano oil, Thieves, and that's our blend. Lemongrass, that's a single oil, and Immu Power, that's a blend. Powerful blend, Immu Power. To experiment on what these oils would do. And she is happy to report that they worked very well for me, and I'm so happy I tried them. Now when I feel congestion coming on, I know that these oils will do the trick. And Christy from Wyoming says, my first experience with Young Living oils was in 1999, and that was my first experience as well. I was very ill with pneumonia. My doctor wanted to hospitalize me and use IV antibiotics, to which I refused both. A friend brought Thieves and Raven to me. Raven is a blend. Thieves is a blend. And she told me to put them on my chest, put the Thieves on my chest and Raven all over the bottom of my feet, and to use Raven all over my chest and then Thieves all over the bottom of my feet again when I went to bed, which I did exactly what she said. The next morning, I awakened all but totally well. I was astounded at the healing that had taken place. And this is the beauty of the oils. I have been using oils ever since and always will. I feel you, Christy, because that's when I started in 1999. So chemical pneumonia. This is inflammation of lung tissue from poisons or toxins. And the symptoms can be burning, literally burning the inside of the nose, the eyes, the lips, the mouth, and the throat from chemicals. A dry cough, your chest is going to be painful. It's going to be painful to breathe because you've gotten these chemicals in your lungs. Nausea, and the causes are inhalation of substances like liquids, gases, and small particles that might be dust or fumes, high levels of chlorine in a small room can even cause respiratory failure or death. Never, never, never use chemicals to clean with in small, unventilated areas. And when I talk about chemicals, I'm talking about ammonia and chlorine bleach. If you put those together, you will have a chemical reaction causing a chemical pneumonia. When I went to the clinic in 2003, the Young Living Clinic in 2003, when it was in Utah, I happened to be in there with Mary Young's mother, who, oh, by the way, just passed away. I think it was a month or two ago. She was near 100, and she didn't miss a convention. She would be there every year. Yeah, she was incredible. And she was in the clinic because she had been cleaning with ammonia and chlorine, Clorox, and she got chemical pneumonia. And they were fearing for her life because she just inhaled these fumes. Factors that determine the severity of signs and symptoms are the type and the strength of the chemical, the length of exposure, the exposure environment. I believe that she was cleaning in a small enclosed shower. Protective measures used, if she didn't use a mask, if she should have never used those chemicals anyway. We had Thieves Cleaner at that point, and Thieves Cleaner will clean anything. I mean, it is awesome. There's no need to use any of these chemical cleaners. The only chemical cleaner that I use, and I use it very, very infrequently and very sparingly, is CLR. And that is a toxic chemical. And the reason I'll use it is if I have some lime buildup somewhere and I can't get it off any other way, I will use CLR. But I am death on chemical cleaners. I will use Thieves for everything. For my toilets, I don't use caustic toilet bowl cleaner. And I think we're going to talk about some of that as we go along too. Also, other severity of signs and symptoms are prior medical condition. She was basically healthy. Your age and the form of chemical or gas or vapor or particulate or liquid. Okay, tuberculosis. You don't hear too much about tuberculosis anymore, but it is an infectious bacterial disease transmitted through the air that mainly affects the lungs. Symptoms are fever, weight loss, chest pain, loss of appetite, night sweats, coughing up blood. I believe they used to call it consumption back in the 18th century. Only about 10% of people infected ever develop TB. Many of those who suffer with TB do so in the first few years following the infection, but the bacillus may lie dormant in the body for decades. You can be a carrier of TB and never come down with TB. You know, now that we have the TB test that you can get on your forearm, and that's one that I don't have a whole lot of issue with. It's all these new designer vaccinations that they've come up with over the last 50 years that are crazy. But this particular disease is caused by a bacteria. And you can kill tuberculosis with a frequency. Royal Rife proved that back in the early 1900s, that you could destroy viruses and bacteria of tuberculosis by certain frequencies. We don't need to have vaccinations. If we would just look at energy more, quantum physics a little bit more in medicine, I think we'd have a leg up. Okay, so let's talk about essential oils and how we're going to use them and what oils we're going to use for what for respiratory relief and support. Shall we? The first one we're going to look at is frankincense. And I love how Loretta talks about frankincense and how she uses it to open up her airways. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. It's antibacterial, anti-tumoral, antiviral, and antifungal. It calms and reduces anxiety. So what happens is you get kind of in this round robin, you know, you can't breathe, so you get scared, so you get tense so that you can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a cycle that we get in. And so we need to relax and reduce that anxiety, and frankincense helps do that. It not only opens the airways, but it helps with that anxiety. It deepens cellular respiration, and that's what she was saying, opening up the airways. It's an expectorant too, so any of that mucus that you have that's trapped and it's not being able to work its way out, frankincense will help with that, getting rid of that. It relieves coughing. It's an antiseptic to the respiratory tract. It's an immune stimulant, and it's an antidepressant. So, I mean, frankincense, you know what they said, it works on everything from a broken head to a broken toe. If you ever wonder what oil to go for frankincense. I think there are 3 or 4 oils that I would never want to be without. Frankincense is one. Thieves is another one. I don't know, lavender, probably, and lemon. Those are probably my 4. You got to say peppermint. I mean, you know, can you stop at 4? I don't think you can. But anyway, let's talk about hyssop and the next slide after hyssop is going to be Loretta, and she looks just as beautifully young today. Hyssop has a special affinity to the respiratory system. And you're going to be able to tell when you smell hyssop that, yes, this is kind of like a eucalyptus-like fragrance. And I find it very interesting. You know, if you go back to the biblical story of the Israelites and the night before the Passover, or the night of the Passover, and they said that the dark angel was going to pass over and it would affect every firstborn male, I believe, in the house if they didn't get themselves a hyssop branch, dip it in the blood of the slain lamb for the Passover lamb, and strike the doorposts or the lintels of the dwelling, so that the aromatic molecules literally coated that door frame, and they were in that area. And if we believe that hyssop is for respiratory, and they didn't have microscopes back in the day to know what a bacteria or a virus was, we're probably well on our way to understanding that that dark angel was actually some kind of upper respiratory infection that could have caused the death of those children, because this is highly anti-inflammatory and antiviral. It had to have been a viral infection that was coming through. Again, they called it a dark angel because they didn't know what bacteria and viruses were back then, so they couldn't articulate that. But it also is an expectorant. It liquefies mucus. It relieves bronchial spasms. So when Loretta was talking about coughing can be spasmodic. And being able to put hyssop either on her chest or on the bottom of her feet was keeping her from that chronic cough. It's effective for treating colds, sore throats, flu, bronchitis, and asthma. And here is the lovely Loretta. And this was in 2007. So wow, it's, 10 years, 15 years. Whew, time flies when you're having fun. And she was overusing her rescue inhaler. She was also told by her doctor, after her boys were born, she would clean everything. She was like a clean freak. She didn't want her kids to get sick. So she used Lysol on everything. And her doctor literally told her that it just made her asthma worse, because she said that she had had asthma since a child, but it was getting progressively worse as she was using these chemicals unbeknownst to her. You know, she didn't know that these chemicals were going to cause her this trouble. But here it is. And she says, what a blessing it is to have God's oils in our presence. And it's Loretta ship. Okay, so peppermint is another really great oil. It's a pain reliever. It's a fever reducer. It's an effective expectorant. It alleviates spasms. And I don't know if Loretta has used peppermint with her asthma. If you have, and you've had good results, share that with us, Loretta, if you're still on. But it does open the respiratory tract. It inhibits growth of pathogenic bacteria and provides instantaneous relief. You can rub it on the chest, under the nose, or place it on the tongue. If you have sinus congestion, oh my goodness, put it on the tip of your tongue and place the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And you will have a large amount of relief very, very quickly. I had an upper respiratory infection, says Sheila from Massachusetts, that turned into chronic rhinosinusitis. I was stuffy for 3 months, not being able to breathe through my nose. I had tried many herbs and steams, snuffs, and oils without success until peppermint. I put 2 drops on my tongue and on the roof of my mouth, and in a few minutes I was breathing through my nose. Every time I got stuffy after this, I repeated the process. I started with a few times a day, and in 3 days I was better. How quickly God's oils heal us. It is amazing. A couple of other great oils that support the respiratory system are Eucalyptus radiata and Eucalyptus globulus. And all through this winter, I just emptied a bottle of Eucalyptus radiata night before last, because I have a Aromalux diffuser next to my sofa. And as I sit there in the evening with my husband, I'll run that Aromalux, and I've just been breathing in the last of that bottle of Eucalyptus radiata. Now I have Sacred Mountain in there, and Sacred Mountain has pine, spruce in it. And though any of these conifer oils are good for breathing in, they're good for the lungs. That's why it's so nice to be out in the woods. Breathing in that pine and spruce and cedar, it's so nice. So both of these oils are powerful antiviral and antiseptic oils. They're antibacterial and antifungal. They're both antispasmodic. I prefer Eucalyptus globulus if I'm making myself a homemade cough medicine. And the way I do that is I take a little local honey and I put 1 to 3 drops of Eucalyptus globulus in a teaspoon with that honey, and I'll hold it in my mouth and I'll try to get it to drip down the back of my throat. That is an inexpensive way to make cough syrup. And I like globulus above radiata if I'm doing that kind of thing. So you can take this internally. I recommend Eucalyptus radiata, taking it more topically and inhaling it like through diffusion. Eucalyptus radiata is the eucalyptus that is in Thieves. Both of these oils are mucus thinners or expectorants. It'll get that stuff out of there. Nasal and respiratory decongestants. Another one that I like is Eucalyptus blue. Now, when I was in Highland Flats, this is our distillery in northern Idaho. The last year that I went up there, I went 4 years in a row, and the last year that I went up there, I ended up with pneumonia. Pretty bad. I had just exhausted myself. I was in my 50s. I was doing chainsaw work. I was, picking boughs up through the field. I was running machinery. I was cooking. I mean, I was just overextending myself. And there's a balance. You just cannot run yourself into the ground and expect to stay healthy. So I ended up with pneumonia, and Gary was there, Gary Young, the owner of Young Living at that time. And he recommended I take capsules of eucalyptus blue, myrrh, and Palo Santo. And I was taking, I think, 1 or 2 capsules every hour. And within 24 hours, I had turned that pneumonia around. I mean, I had felt like I had been beaten about the body with a baseball bat. Even my ribs felt bruised from the coughing and I was just so debilitated. But using these oils every hour, within 3 hours, the oil I was putting in this end was coming out the other end. I mean, I was saturating my body with oils. And I will tell you that in critical times, you have to do extraordinary things, like taking oils every hour. If you really want to nip it, get it out of there, your system, have your body heal itself. You need to use copious amounts of oils. Just taking a couple of drops and putting it here or there isn't always going to give you the relief that you need, depending on how sick you are. RC is one that we should be diffusing on a regular basis. It decongests the sinus passages and relieves allergy symptoms. It's anti-infectious, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and antiviral. It reduces infections in the throat and lungs, such as rhinopharyngitis, laryngitis, flu, sinusitis, bronchitis, and pneumonia. All those itises are nothing more than inflammation of the respiratory system. And so the oils in RC, which are Eucalyptus globulus, myrtle, spruce, Eucalyptus radiata, Eucalyptus citrodora, peppermint, pine, lavender, marjoram, cypress, are all going to target and open and disinfect that bronchial tract. These oils are phenomenal. The cypress actually promotes lymph flow, and the marjoram also opens up the lungs, but it's also good for smooth muscle. So it increases the strength of the heart. It's excellent for chronic coughs and tuberculosis. Raven was mentioned earlier in one of the testimonials, and I love the smell of raven. Now, Raven Sarah on the other side of this picture is a single oil found in the blend of Raven Sarah. Of Raven, excuse me. So Raven Sarah is a single oil found in the blend of Raven. So what's in Raven? Raven Sarah, and there's a couple of different ways you might find it spelled. It's the same oil. Wintergreen is in Raven. I think that's why I love the smell so much. Eucalyptus radiata, lemon, and peppermint. Great blend. This is a wonderful blend to diffuse at night. I go through a lot of Raven. I love it so much. Have you ever smelled it? Oh yeah, I love it. So this is excellent for respiratory diseases such as tuberculosis, influenza, pneumonia, and sore throats. But don't wait until you have these issues before you start diffusing these things on a regular basis. I diffuse every single night. It is a habit. The first thing I do when I get ready for bed at night, I'll go in, I turn on my nightlight, my bedside table lamp. I take my cover off of my diffuser. I fill it up with water. I have an empty Ningxia Red bottle that I fill with water so that I have water in there. In fact, I guess I've moved it around because I had it in here filling up this diffuser the other day. I just fill it, and then I just fill my diffusers with this, and then I put the oil in that I want. I put it all together, and I'm ready for every single night. This is the habit I want you to get into, using your oils so that you can have good respiratory health every single night. It helps increase respiratory capacity. It suppresses coughs, clears the lungs. I mean, even if you're not ill, a lot of times, depending on our age or, the air we have in our home, you might find yourself in the night being a little congested. Use these oils, diffuse every single night. Melrose is also a very good one. This will regenerate damaged tissue. It also reduces inflammation. It too is antibacterial, antifungal, and antimicrobial. This is great for earaches, although that's not the subject tonight, is earaches, but it is good for earaches. And there is a testimonial here about earaches, so let's read it. A friend called one night and I asked asked me if I had anything for an earache. I could hear her son crying in the background. She came to the house and I gave her some Melrose. She said she put it on the back of her son's ear. That's on the mastoid bone behind the outer ear, down the back of the jawbone. And he quit crying immediately and laid down and went to sleep. Remember this, if your little ones get earaches, you might want to dilute it if they're young, but this would be great for an earache. Other things that work great for earaches are Thieves and Ledum. Ledum is great for babies and earaches. This blend of Melrose contains the essential oils of rose, clove, Melaleuca alternifolia, which is tea tree, and neroli. Remember, neroli is the orange blossom. The orange blossom. Okay, here's Thieves. We've talked about Thieves. We never stop talking about Thieves. It's highly anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial. I cannot even count the number of bottles of Thieves that I have gone through in this last month. I mean, not month, in this last COVID year, from March, I guess, 1st to, we're almost at March 1st. It's almost been full circle, 365 days of COVID. And I can't even imagine how many bottles of Thieves I've diffused. And we have never had one symptom. No one in our family has been sick with COVID, knock on wood, or thank God, or whatever form you want to take to be grateful. It amplifies immunity. That's one thing, you need to keep that immune system up. Promotes circulation and lymphatic function, inhibits toxic mold in your home. A must-have for families during the cold and flu season. Place 2 drops on the bottom of each foot every single day for protection from bacteria and viruses. It contains the essential oils of clove, cinnamon bark, rosemary, and lemon, and Eucalyptus radiata. In 1997, there was a clinical study done by Sue Chow, Gary Young, and Dr. Oberg, and they showed that the Thieves blend had a kill rate on 60 different species of gram-negative and positive bacteria, 13 different fungi, and 2 different viruses. When I do my Strictly Thieves class, I will give you that list of all of those bacteria, viruses, and funguses that were tested by them many years ago in 1997. If you have sensitive skin, please dilute. And if you're putting it on a baby for whatever reason, please dilute. I had pictures shown me last night of someone who they thought their baby had a rash. Well, the baby did have a rash. So he thought it would be a good idea to put straight Thieves on that baby's body. And the baby was screaming, top of the lungs screaming, because it was in such discomfort. And I said, go to the kitchen and get some olive oil or some kind of carrier oil. And do not put water on that, because you're not going to dilute it with water. You're just going to exacerbate it. So I feel compelled to tell you that, because for some odd reason, this person did not know that. And I felt so bad for that little baby, but this morning he's doing fine. He had hives. They didn't know what the hives were from. And I mentioned that he may want to dilute some lavender oil and put that on there. Okay, so, you know, Thieves is so powerful and so effective that we've made the Thieves household cleaner. And this is what I was talking about earlier about not having toxic chemicals that are going to compromise your respiratory system when you can use Thieves household cleaner. This is an all-purpose, highly concentrated, 100% plant mineral-based biodegradable cleaner. It complies with EPA standards. It defends against germs. It's supportive to the respiratory system. It's safe for children and pets, and it's totally non-toxic and kills toxic molds. Bleach products are very harmful to the respiratory tract. Fumes can cause serious damage to the mucosal lining of the airway passages and lungs, aggravating conditions such as asthma, chronic bronchitis, or obstructive lung disease. So use the Thieves cleaner, and it's so cost effective. Another thing that we use a lot of here, and I have all winter because I walk a lot, I usually put 2 or 3 of these in my pockets, and these are the Thieves cough drops. I actually like cough drops better than the lozenges because they're stronger. And, you know, the air has been very dry with the cold weather. So I'll just put one of these in my mouth and listen to my earbuds and do my 5 miles. And I'm just a happy camper. So these contain Thieves essential oil blend. It also kills 99.6% of bacteria, soothes sore throats, relieves coughs, and supports the respiratory system. And I'm doing it for support, not because anything is wrong, just clearly support. And we do have mouthwash as well. And of course, that's really good against bacteria in the mouth. Here are a couple more testimonials. One from Jan Jordan in Texas. She said this winter, there had been a respiratory virus going around and it has tried to get to me twice. At the first sign, I put RC on my chest and back over the lung areas and a drop or 2 on my throat. Both times I did this at night before going to bed, and the next morning, no sign of the respiratory virus. This is how effectively these oils work. Virginia out of Texas says, we just love the Thieves oil blend. For colds and flu, go to Thieves. Sore throat, a drop of Thieves in water. You can gargle it and you can swallow it. Or try Thieves Spray. I use Thieves Spray a lot myself. 1 spray in the mouth does the trick. Thieves lozenges are great too, especially for the little ones. Oh, my grandkids used to love my Thieves lozenges. I actually used to have to hide them from JC. She would eat the whole bag over the period of, you know, Christmas vacation. Yeah, I had to hide them from her. So just remember, if you have little kids around, hide your Thieves lozenges. They will eat them up. But it's good that they like them that much, because when they do need them, or you want to give them a little treat, you're giving them something really helpful. Let's see, what else did she say? Oh, Thieves lozenges. And Thieves cleaner is my cleaner for everything, from cabinets and high chairs to all bathroom fixtures, doorknobs and dishes. Thieves toothpaste is a must and safe for the whole family. And we use Thieves toothpaste as well. Another oil blend that really supports the airways and the respiratory tract is Breathe Again. And it relaxes those airways. It's convenient because it's in a roll-on, although you can add a roller ball to any of our oils. It makes breathing easier and reduces coughs. It's anti-inflammatory. It's an expectorant. It relieves colds and congestion. It's anti-infectious, antiviral, and antibacterial. This is a great gift too. It comes in such a beautiful box. Buy one for that sister or sister-in-law that might suffer from respiratory issues, and just tell her to rub it on her chest before she goes to bed at night. What a great thing to share with our loved ones. It contains Eucalyptus stageriana. I don't know if I say that correctly. Eucalyptus Globulus, Laurel Nobulus, which is bay leaf. It has rose hip fruit oil in it. It has peppermint. It has Eucalyptus radiata, copaiba, which is an anti-inflammatory. It has copaiba is 55% beta caryophyllene, which is an anti-inflammatory constituent in that essential oil. It has myrtle in it, blue cypress, and eucalyptus blue, and it was formulated by Gary. So one of the greatest kits, you know, I've always said that the best value is in a kit. You're always going to get a better bang for your buck if you can buy a kit. And this kit is outstanding, and we don't hear about it enough. So this is the Golden Touch 1 collection. This is supporting the body's natural defenses. In this kit comes 7 oils. So you get Digize for the digestive system. You get Endoflex for the thyroid and the endocrine system. You get Juvaflex for the liver. You get Raven for the respiratory, RC for the respiratory, Melrose for any kind of infections, earaches, respiratory, and Thieves. They're all 5 ml bottles, but it is one heck of a great kit. So this is the Golden Touch 1 collection. Also, I really highly recommend getting these inhalers. These inhalers are so inexpensive, and you can carry them in your pocket with your favorite essential oil. I love mine with Raven on it. And I used to give these to my grandsons when they were younger, and they loved them. They carried them around in their pocket. These inhalers can be gotten, you know, like a dozen for, I don't know, $3, $3.50 for a dozen of them at Amazon. I might not be quoting that exact price, but they're really inexpensive. And they're small enough to fit in your purse or your pocket or a bag so that they're perfect for traveling. And all you do is put 6 drops on the wick. You can see the wick here. And then you place that wick inside the inside tube and put this little stopper on. Now, I never put that stopper in all the way so that I could take it out later and add more oil drops to it. But I will tell you that one of those inhalers will last you anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It is one effective way to use your oil. So check out these inhalers, and they're going to be very, very good for respiratory support. And if you're having severe respiratory challenges, other than asthma, I would recommend getting a TheraPro, because Young Living does no longer have any pure oil diffusers. And I've actually asked Young Living about that. When are we going to get a pure oil diffuser? But you can get a TheraPro from Amazon if you absolutely want a pure oil diffuser. And what this does is it covers about 1,500 square feet with pure essential oil in the air. It's not diluted with water. The Aria ultrasonic diffuser, you're using that with water. The home diffuser, the Desert Mist, you're using that with water. But if you're having serious respiratory compromise and you don't have an Aromalux, I have an Aromalux. That's the pyramid diffuser. Get a TheraPro from Amazon. So I want to just wrap this up with giving you some recommendations for a 90 days to a healthy respiratory system. First of all, if you're not already a Young Living member, oh my goodness, please, please, please get in touch with the person that invited you to this class tonight and find out how to get 12 exquisite oils to use all day, every day, plus a free Young Living diffuser. You'll get 24% off on all future Young Living products. This is the only way to go, folks. In that diffuser, you're going to get, in that pack, you're going to get 2 packets of our Ningxia Red juice, a 5 ml bottle of Stress Away, a roller filament, 2 lavender you're going to get a hand sanitizer and a Thieves Spray, I believe. and then 12 other oils. You're going to get peppermint, lavender, lemon, thieves. I think raven is in there. Digize, valor, panaway. Purification is no longer in there. Yeah, but this is a great way to start. It is the best way to start. And then you want to consider getting on essential rewards for those 90 days to turn your respiratory system around. You're going to earn back in the first 3 months, you're going to earn back 10% on anything that you spend with Young Living. After 3 months, in the 4th month, that goes up to 20% rebate on every single thing you spend. That is a no-brainer. I mean, not to be on essential rewards is missing the boat big time, because you get free shipping for orders of $100 or more. You'll never run out of products to ensure that your 90-day respiratory health plan is a success. And you might want to start out with your first essential rewards after you get your initial kit by getting the Thieves products. This is the Thieves Auto Ship Pack, or the Essential Rewards Pack. And it comes with cleaner and the essential oil blend, toothpaste, mouthwash, the Thieves Spray that we mentioned, the hand sanitizer or hand purifier, and the Thieves foaming hand soap, which I have in my bathrooms and my kitchen. I just kind of swap them out with different smells. I have Luscious Lemon sometimes. I have Northern Lights at the kitchen sink right now, but I have Thieves in my bathroom. So these are nice hand soaps. And then maybe month 2, you want to get that Golden Touch kit. This kit it's the best. It's to live for. Includes Ravensara. Oh, you might want to include Ravensara, Eucalyptus Globulus, and the Golden Touch one. Other suggestions for essential rewards: if you're having asthma, Hyssop might be good. It's great to have Melrose on hand, especially if you have a nail fungus of some sort. Eucalyptus radiata, peppermint, and Thieves cough drops. And one more suggestion: you might want to get some Raven, some Thieves oil. Frankincense is in that kit too. We didn't mention that. But this might be the time where you're wanting to get another bottle of frankincense, or try the Breathe Again roll-on, or get some RC. So these are just some suggestions that you can use to get your Essential Rewards monthly order. Step 3, how can you improve your respiratory health? You can avoid toxic chemical cleaners, room deodorizers, scented candles, over-the-counter medications, and fragrant laundry products. Dryer sheets are the worst. The bounce and all that is very, very hard on the respiratory system. And we sleep in the sheets and we wear the clothing that all those petrochemicals cling to. And we don't even realize that they're negatively affecting our health. Embrace air filtration, non-toxic household cleaning products, diffusing your Young Living oils every single night, and natural healing with Young Living. Some resources are our Essential Oils Desk Reference that you can get by going to www.discoverlsp.com. And I think there's still a booklet out there at Young Living called the Thieves Booklet, and it's very informative. So I want to end this by just saying thanks for coming. Welcome to the wonderful world of Young Living. You couldn't be at a better place on a Tuesday night. Experience a healthier life with every breath by using some of the recommendations that I made tonight. I'm going to stop the video and ask you if you have any questions.